How is it possible to make nearly $100,000 in income without actually creating a product? Sounds like a riddle, right? But it's not. I'm gonna break down exactly how this happened and the key strategies you can use to go from idea to proof and profit in the most efficient way possible. So meet Mike. Mike generated $89,000 in 30 days with nothing more than a tiny audience, Zoom, and a payment processor. But what's even more impressive is that he did this without ever having done sales in his life before. He shared, "I did it, and my mission to help others is happening. After 20 years of grinding, I have social proof that my knowledge can and is worth real money." So this video will show you exactly how Mike cracked the code to building a thriving online education business with zero experience. Before we dive into his incredible journey, to take this a step further, I've created a free guide called the 10 Steps to Scale Your Skill Set and 10x Your Impact. Comment "Give me the guide" below and we'll send you the link to access it on demand. This is a really rich resource that will show you step by step how to monetize your expertise, and even includes our ideal client decoder that will identify your ideal audience in just a few minutes. Drop "Give me the guide" in the comments below and we'll reply with the link. Okay, so Mike's journey to this incredible success wasn't always straightforward. His challenges and aha moments can teach us some real lessons for anyone interested in monetizing their knowledge. But I'd like to give you fair warning. A lot of what I'm gonna share in this video today might challenge everything you think you know about building a successful online course business. So first and foremost, let's start with the biggest key. So in order to make this work, you have to start with transformation, not information. Most people who want to create an online course take one of two paths. They either focus on building an audience first, or they dive straight in to creating their course. And either of those paths is going to lead to so much friction and frustration. So building an audience without a clear offer creates long-term chaos. You end up with followers who aren't really interested in what you're selling, and starting with course creation means that you don't really understand your audience, you don't understand what they truly need, you don't understand a lot about what is necessary to create a super effective course. And that means that that perfectly structured program that you spend all these hours on without any real research or intel, it becomes something that nobody wants to buy, and it's a huge waste of your time. So Mike fell into the second trap. So he had, 12 successful restaurants. He is an expert in his field. He has one of America's top 10 pizzerias and 2 #1 best-selling books. But he started by creating what he thought people needed off of that expertise. He created a $99 coaching program. So he started here, but he ran into a big issue. He had created a program first without fully understanding his audience, and the results were not exactly ideal. It was pretty predictable. He heard crickets. It was like pulling teeth to try to get people to buy. Maybe you can relate to that. And not seeing the results that he wanted, Mike then descended into a dark rabbit hole and a total spiral of trying to figure out how to fix it. So he was wondering if it maybe wasn't the course he'd created, but maybe it was other things. Maybe there were issues with things like the tools and the technologies that he was using. So he even went as far as to pay startup firms and marketing consultants and brand builders and all of these other companies. And he also was spending countless hours researching things like CRMs and comparing different funnels and technologies and trying to build the perfect system. But none of that matters. I can say this with so much experience in working with thousands of people and doing this. That stuff does not matter because he hadn't answered the most important question. If you don't answer this, you are honestly shooting your idea in the foot before it even gets off the ground. So the most important question that he had to answer first in order to make this work and turn things around is, who is his most ideal client and what did they need? It all clicked when Mike discovered a crucial truth. Building a successful online course business isn't about sharing information. It is all about creating real, long-lasting transformation. He realized it wasn't about dumping all of his years of expertise into a course. His target didn't need an encyclopedia of restaurant management. They really were not looking for that. They needed a clear path from where they were to where they wanted to go. So he began to focus on what we call the 0 to hero journey, understanding exactly where your clients are struggling right now, which is their 0 state, and creating a very specific roadmap to get them where they want to go, which is their hero state. So when you're an expert in a field like Mike is, this can be especially challenging. There is a big temptation, we call it the curse of the expert, to throw everything you know into your course. And what that does is it ultimately creates this really ineffective and inefficient path for your client. So that isn't what people want or even need. And it certainly is not the way to create results. To pinpoint a winning transformation, you need a few key things. Let's dive into them. So to pinpoint a winning transformation, you need 3 very specific things. Number 1, you have to have an incredibly clear understanding of your ideal client. Everyone is not the answer. Number 2, you have to have a core 0 to hero transformation that you can create and duplicate for any client that comes in. And number 3, you have to have an efficient roadmap to get your clients to that transformation. When you're building an online course business without knowing both who you're going to serve and what transformation you will ultimately provide to them, it's like going on a road trip without a map. It is so frustrating. You are driving aimlessly. You're getting lost. You're getting stuck. You're getting frustrated. And ultimately, you're going to end up right back where you started. Huge waste of time, energy, effort, mental space, all those things. So like I said, Mike had 2 best-selling books. But this, my friends, perfectly illustrates the key difference between selling information via a book versus transformation. So he said, I wrote a whole book that reached #1 on Amazon, and I made more money in 3 weeks than the book made in 3 years. So armed with this realization about transformation, Mike made an unconventional choice that would lead to his $89,000 success. And that brings us into the power of pre-selling. So how conversations, yes, just simple conversations, led to $89,000. Okay, let's dig in. Now Mike was equipped with the most crucial piece of being able to pre-sell successfully, knowing exactly who his ideal client was. Now he really needed to dig into what exactly they needed from him. So that is the next step. So instead of spending months creating content and creating a course that he hoped that people would want, he just started with simple research. He contacted and interviewed 50 restaurant owners about their biggest challenges, their pain points, what kept them up at night, their frustrations. So these are not and are not supposed to be sales calls. These are deep research conversations meant for you to listen to your ideal client's struggles and the solutions they've tried and the changes that they want to make in their lives, their businesses, their relationships, whatever it may be that you want to solve the problem for. So these conversations changed absolutely everything. Mike ended up digging deeper with each restaurant owner, and a pattern started to emerge. They were not looking for tips or tactics. That was not the goal. That's not what they wanted. They were desperately seeking a way to transform from being owned by their business to truly owning it. They wanted to go from feeling trapped to feeling in control. So many had tried other solutions before. They'd bought books, including Mike's. They'd attended seminars, and they'd even hired consultants. But nothing had given them the total transformation that they were seeking. So they were still working these 80-hour weeks, still missing their kids' soccer games, still feeling like the restaurant owned them rather than the other way around. So what made these conversations different was that Mike wasn't trying to sell them anything. He didn't have anything to sell at this point. He was genuinely trying to understand. So there's some key things that you want to pull from these conversations. So I'm going to kind of guide you on what to look for and how to create the right questions to get to the root of them with a few key points here. So a few of these key questions are things like, what's keeping you up at night? What is that thing that's just gnawing at your subconscious about this problem, about this situation? Or what solutions have you already tried? What have you spent money on? What have you invested into to try and fix this? And then why have those solutions not worked for you? There is gold in that answer, because you're gonna really come to understand what you don't need to include in your program to make it effective. And then what success would look like for them. That definition is different for everybody, but for your ideal client, it's going to be pretty similar across the board. So you want to look for those similarities because that's what you're ultimately going to build your curriculum and your roadmap to create. The final key kind of concept or piece that we want to pull from this is, okay, well, they know what the problem is. They know where they want to get to. After you've had this conversation, you've asked these questions, that's pretty clear, but something is blocking them. And we need to know what it is. What is standing in their way? What do they need to get past that to actually make this happen? That is so important. So each conversation that he had deepened his understanding of what restaurant owners actually needed. He discovered that while every restaurant was different, the core challenges were pretty much always the same. So that really equipped him with the next crucial piece of being able to pre-sell. So what he knew was that he had a good grasp on exactly what his ideal client needed, and he started to really outline the curriculum from there. So giving them that efficient path to achieve their desired outcome based on his years of experience and expertise and based on what they told him they needed. So he didn't build anything. He just created the outline for curriculum. All of this work that we've done thus far is now helping you create a really solid, really strong curriculum to create the most effective offer that you can for your ideal client to create real results, because ultimately that is what helps you gain social proof. That is what helps you scale. So here's the irony. By focusing on understanding their problems rather than selling, Mike ended up selling more than ever before. Of the 50 restaurant owners that he spoke to, 32 became his first clients. Pretty incredible, right? All before he created a single lesson, because he'd taken the time to deeply understand their challenges. They trusted that he could help them achieve the changes that they desperately wanted. So this pre-selling approach worked for 4 crucial reasons. Number 1, understanding. Mike gained a deep-rooted understanding of exactly what transformation his market actually needed. Number 2, relationships. We always like to say relationships lead to revenue and conversations lead to cash flow. So his conversations built trust and credibility with his potential clients, something that money can't really buy. He could validate from there with his real solution. He was then able to go, okay, I actually have something that they're going to need. And by doing so, he was able to really prove this offer before he spent months investing in actual course creation. And then number 4 is probably the biggest part of this. The conversations themselves helped shape his course and his course content. He didn't have to aimlessly try and figure out what to put in his course or stuff it with information. So the result wasn't just about $89,000 in sales. That was not just the core focus here. It was absolute clarity about what his course needed to deliver. Every module, every lesson, every framework would be built around the real challenges and desired transformations he'd uncovered in these conversations. So Mike's $89,000 success wasn't a fluke, and that's why I'm sharing all of this with you. So consider Nikki. She's an animal communicator, and after conducting her research conversations, she had a very small email list of just 174 people, and with a single email to this list, she enrolled 39 students and generated $103,000 in just 21 days. Best of all, when you focus on understanding the exact zero to hero transformation your specific audience craves, and you have experienced that transformation in your own journey or in helping others, you then become an undisputed authority in your space. So authority doesn't come from being everything to everyone. That doesn't work. Authority is a direct result from carving out a space through this process that no one else operates in. We call this becoming a market of one. So to help you establish your own market of one and map out your ideal client's zero to hero journey, I've created the 10 steps to scale your skill set and 10x your impact guide. And this is a detailed roadmap that will show you exactly how to monetize your expertise and your knowledge. All you gotta do is comment, give me the guide below, and we'll send you the link to access it on demand. Okay, so from pre-selling to prototype, how do we actually get from this to the offer and creating the first version of your course? Let's dive into those details. So with 32 committed clients and deep insights from his research conversations, Mike was actually ready for the next critical phase, turning those insights into an actual course. But rather than disappearing for months or even years to build an elaborate program, he built a simple prototype. And that is so important to understand. It is not a fancy, polished, perfect product. It is just the essential elements needed to deliver the core transformation that his clients were seeking. This is what you need to do. So this approach, what we call a POP, which is a profitable offer prototype, focuses on getting results quickly. So you're going to create a bare bones version of the course. Just what is absolutely necessary to get them to their transformation. Then you deliver it live. And from there, after delivering it live to your initial clients, you're gonna gather real world feedback. And that allows you to then optimize. Not based on what you think is going to work, but based on actual intel from real people and your real ideal clients. And knowing, okay, this landed well, this didn't land well, this order was wrong, I gotta shift these things around, I may want to include this, I may want to cut this piece. This is so important to the long-term success of your online education business. So what makes this approach so powerful is that it helps you create what we call a prescription business versus what we call a vitamin business. So what do I mean by this? Well, it's an important concept to understand if you're going to see success doing this. So a vitamin business offers something that's really nice to have. People might want it, but they don't really need it, meaning that I know I have vitamins I need to take every day, but I miss some days and I don't really care if I do. So a prescription business, on the other hand, provides something essential, like medicine from a doctor. It is something people know they need to get better. So I want you to take Kirby, for example. He is a short-term rental specialist who helps working professionals diversify their income through semi-passive real estate investments. And using this exact same pre-sell to prototype approach, Kirby validated his course concept through actual client interviews and conversations. Then he went ahead and did all these steps. He delivered the first version live over 6 weeks, and then he created a more polished version based on what he learned. The result from there is over 200 happy participants and nearly $600,000 in revenues to date. And Nikki is another example. So the animal communicator that I mentioned earlier in the video, she used the same POP approach to go from a $99 membership that wasn't quite working to a high ticket program. And the beauty of this approach is its simplicity. So these are all the things you don't need, that you think you might need, but you definitely don't to make this work. You do not need fancy course platforms at all. You do not need a professional website because it really doesn't serve a purpose at this stage. You do not need a brand logo that is perfectly polished. It doesn't matter. Results matter, and the value of what you're providing matters most. You can do all that stuff later. And finally, you don't need complex technology. None of that stuff is necessary. What you need instead is absolute clarity on 2 things that we have talked about here. So you need clarity on offer and ideal client avatar, which is just a fancy way of saying, who are you serving? So everything else flows from these fundamentals. With this amount of clarity, you can focus on what actually matters, getting your clients from zero to hero. Period, end of story. And this approach, this prototype approach, serves 3 crucial purposes. It's gonna get your course to market quickly. It's gonna generate real client results, your best marketing asset. Results do way more for your business than any fancy marketing strategy or funnel ever could. And it lets you optimize your content based on what actually works, right? So it's like a self-fulfilling little engine that works for you. Instead of spending years second-guessing yourself before making an income or even an impact, you actually can create something simple that delivers real transformation. It might not be pretty and that might bug you, but it works. Then you can make it better. Then you can make it pretty. And then you can actually improve it based on actual client experience. So the final piece of this, which is so important to understand, because you might be wondering, well, where do I get these people from? Where do I get my first client? So we're gonna talk about leveraging your existing network and starting with who you know. Let's keep this very simple, because most people assume you need thousands of followers or even millions to launch a successful course. But Mike's story and so many others, it proves something different. Success comes from leveraging the network that you already have, what already exists in your realm. So even if you're thinking, well, I don't know anybody, I guarantee you, once I finish this piece, you're gonna understand that you actually do. So Mike's initial advantage wasn't a huge social media following. He had less than 1,800 followers, and a lot of those, he admitted, were just family, friends, random acquaintances, etc. It wasn't his, exact ideal client by any means. But it's important to understand, if you're thinking, I don't know about industry connections, etc., let me finish. Mike didn't just rely on the immediate contacts. He turned each connection into an opportunity for expansion. So every single restaurant owner he spoke with or knew, they all knew another restaurant owner. Each successful client could refer him to others facing similar challenges. So this created a natural progression. So it is warm contacts you're going to start with. This is people inside of your circle. It is people you have worked with, past clients. It could be people in your industry. It could be people who have a similar audience to you. It could be family, friends. Just ask around. Say what you're trying to understand and what you're doing research on, and you will be amazed at what happens. Then you get introduced to who they know. So that becomes cold contacts and starts to build your network. From there, that allows you to turn successful relationships into referrals, which creates expansion. And your network starts to grow very organically and without a lot of extra effort from you. So another really great example of this is from another one of our clients, Anna, who is in the neuroscience space. So she completed her research calls in less than 3 weeks by implementing this exact strategy. So she said, I think the biggest takeaways are that the power of referrals is not to be underestimated. And it has been a great way to find my ideal clients. And the thing about this is trust is so key. So by building a network through trust, you build authentic relationships. And because you're not selling anything when you start to talk to these ideal clients, there is inherent trust there because you're just there to listen. So the power of this approach becomes really clear when we just simply look at the numbers. So 50 conversations turned into 32 clients, which turned into $89,000 in less than 3 weeks. So this reveals a really important truth about course creation. It's not about having a massive audience, it's about having the right audience. And Mike's success came from connecting with the people who actually needed his solution, not from building a huge following of casual looky-loos and observers and window shoppers. It was actually speaking to just the right people. You just need to start with what you already have, your knowledge and your network, and let it grow naturally through genuine connections. This can start with as simple as 5 people who might happen to know other people who need your help. That leads to real results, real relationships, and real long-term success. So you might be thinking, but my network is too small. Or I don't speak at industry events, and I get that. That's why I said, let me finish. But this is exactly why Mike's story is so powerful. Even with his industry presence, he didn't rely on broadcasting to a large audience. Instead, he focused on having meaningful conversations with a small number of people who could actually benefit from his knowledge and his expertise and his years of experience. So think about your own network. Maybe you have past clients or colleagues that you've worked with who would happen to know other people that might need your help, or industry connections on something like LinkedIn or other platforms if you have them, or people you worked with in your field in the past. Maybe it is members of any professional associations or groups that you belong to, and it could also be people who've come to you and asked you for things like advice, or they want to pick your brain, or they're looking for just intel into your area of expertise. Think about all of those ideas, and I guarantee you can come up with at least 5 of those people, and that's where you start. Because you don't need a lot of clients, you need the right clients. So each of these connections really could be the starting point for building your course business. So remember, Mike built nearly a 6-figure launch from just 50 conversations. It's not about reaching thousands, it's about reaching the right people who truly need your help. And here's the most powerful part of this. When you help these first clients succeed, they become more than just customers. They become advocates for your program naturally, expanding your network to others who face similar challenges. This creates a sustainable growth cycle that's based on real results and not marketing hype and putting all your time and energy and effort into yelling at people to work with you. So this creates what we call a very organic flywheel for success. And we call it the engine that truly runs your business. It looks like this. So it starts with, obviously, your ideal client. That is the foundation of everything. So your ideal client avatar, exactly who you're serving. Then you create a transformational program for them, which leads to getting folks enrolled, perfectly aligned clients who actually need that help and result. And then that creates creates client transformations, which ultimately leads to those people being super happy and telling more ideal clients to be a part of your program and that you are the authority on this subject. So the key is to start where you are, with who you know. Your network might be smaller than you'd like, but if you focus on making genuine connections with people who really need your solution, it's going to grow naturally, I promise you. And so will your business. And focusing on that versus trying to get all these fake vanity metrics and monopoly money is a much better use of your time and mental space. So this brings us into the final piece. Done is better than perfect. You have to take action now. These are simple actions and activities. And if you really want to make this work, we have to hit the start button. So throughout Mike's journey, from those first 50 conversations to his $89,000 from his initial launch, one thing stands out in a really big way. Action beats perfection. He didn't wait until he had the perfect course platform, the perfect marketing funnel, or even a completely polished curriculum. He just started. So instead, he focused on what actually mattered the most, delivering real transformation and results to his most ideal clients. So course creation can feel incredibly overwhelming. I get it, but there's a reason, because anything worth doing is going to take time and effort, but you can simplify with very simple actions to begin with. So there's always one more thing to tweak, one more module to add, one more feature to perfect. But this pursuit of perfection is one of the biggest killers of your success. Many people, many course creators and online educators get stuck in what we coined the valley of despair. They spend months, even years, we hear this all the time, trying to create the perfect course. They worry about every detail, second guess every decision, and constantly revise their content, often without ever having a paying client. So perfectionism can manifest in some very sneaky ways. So I want you to be aware, if you're doing any of these things, that's what this is. And you have to take action to overcome them. Messy action, because moving forward is going to get you where you want to go. Staying in analysis paralysis and perfectionism is not. It is not productive. So endlessly tweaking your course content, obsessing over which platform to use, waiting until everything is just right, or having a really debilitating fear of criticism or failure that is going to keep you from launching. That's ultimately keeping you stuck. But here's the truth. Your first version does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be effective. And we proved this with Mike and so many others with 4 simple steps to just start taking actions. Number 1, creating a simple curriculum outline based on real conversations. Number 2, starting with live delivery to your first clients. In Mike's case, it was his first 32 clients. Improving based on the feedback from those actual clients, not what you think might need to be done, but what you actually know. And then building your most polished version only after proving that it actually worked. So we call this an SOP, which is a scalable offer prototype. It is your most beautiful, perfected version of the program once you've actually proven it, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. So this step-by-step approach isn't just theory, it's been proven to work for others too. So another example of this is Stephanie. She's a personal trainer, and instead of trying to create the perfect course up front, she launched her first prototype at $747. After getting real student feedback, she refined it and eventually raised her price to just under $1,000. And today, she's generated multiple 6 figures for her online program. So again, any niche, any knowledge, any expertise, this process works, and it is the most effective way to be able to make that impact and generate that income and smash those ceilings like you want to. So the key is to take action. You know what to do, and get that real student feedback and client feedback to guide your improvements. As you help your first clients achieve results, you'll naturally discover how to improve your course. You learn how to teach by teaching. And this real-world feedback is far more valuable than any amount of theoretical perfection that lives in our heads. So if you're ready to turn your knowledge into a thriving online course business, drop a comment below to get my free guide, the 10 steps to scale your skill set and 10x your impact. You're going to discover exactly how to identify your ideal client with a really transformational tool that we have in there, how to create the perfect offer, and how to build a sustainable course business without getting stuck in that cycle of perfectionism. And speaking of that, you're gonna wanna watch this video next on how I built a 10K a month business in less than 10 minutes using AI. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful for you. See you in the next one. Bye.